Hello again, everybody. So this is section 1.4. We're talking about rewriting formulas and equations. In class, we'll watch a couple videos. One's from Monty Python where the one guy tries to convince another guy that a bird is not dead, it's just resting, or it's just sleeping, or it fell over, or he's trying to rewrite history, kind of rewrite what happens. Also have a video from Transformers. Transformers More Than Meets the Eye. Again, they're transforming, they're changing. They're the same things, like Optimus Prime is Optimus Prime, always. It's just that sometimes he looks like a robot guy, sometimes he looks like a semi-truck. So it's the same, it's that kind of idea where it's the same thing, but it looks a little bit different. And you can rearrange things on a transformer. Um, and then paraphrasing too, that's another example of just changing the way something sounds or the way something looks or whatever. When you're in English class and you're paraphrasing, you're just changing the kind of summarizing, changing the sentence or what's going on. So those are some real life examples of rewriting or changing things. Let's see which one. Yeah, I want to do this one. Sorry. So here's our first kind of problems. We want to solve the equation for y first. So we'll do that first, and then we'll find the value of y for the given value of x. So first, we're just going to look at the problem, and I don't know why it popped up. I always do these in one take. So if you're watching this is just me going. So rewriting this one for y, what we want to do is we want to get y by itself. So that means we got to move the 15 over. It's a positive 15, so the opposite of positive 15 is a negative 15. So we have this. So this, to cancel out a positive, you subtract. Now we're at 4 times y equals 9 minus 15x. To get rid of a 4 times, you divide. But when we divide by 4, we want to divide everything by 4. So y equals 9 over 4 minus 15 over 4 times x. So that's the solving the equation for y part. The second part is put the value of x in. So we take a negative 3 and we put it in right there. So we get y equals 9 over 4 minus 15 over 4 times negative 3. So we go on our graphing calculator. 9 over 4 minus 15 over 4 times negative 3. We get 13.5 is our answer. So these problems have two sections to them. You have the blue section that I did in blue, where you're solving for y, and then you have the section where you put in the x value and get your y answer. I didn't say this at the top of the video, but as usual, if you're doing this for a review for my class or for any class, feel free to pause anytime. Do the problem on your own on a scratch sheet of paper, and then see if you get the right answer when I'm doing it. So, here's the next one. So again, we want to get anything. We want to get all the stuff that has a y on the same side alone. So this 4x needs to go away. So we're going to move it over to the other side. So we're left with 7y plus 5xy equals negative 4x. Because 0 minus 4x is just negative 4x. Now, both of these have y's. If they both have y's, this is the opposite of the distributive property. It's called factoring. But if they both have a y, we can pull that y out. So we're left with 7 plus 5x. Because if we did the opposite and distributed that y, we'd end up with 7y plus 5xy, which is what we had before. So it's called factoring, but it's really the opposite of the distributive property. Now this is y times all of this stuff in parentheses. So if we divide by all that stuff in parentheses, we'll get our final answer for the blue part. So these went away. So we've left with y equals negative 4x over, in parentheses, 7 plus 5x. You don't need the parentheses on the bottom. I just like them because I'm going to put them in when I do the graphing calculator to find the final answer for the red part. So not necessary, but I like to put them in there. We'll move these down, give ourselves a little bit more space. So the next part says put 1 in for x. So we go down here, we put a 1 in there and in there. So y equals -4. -4 times 1 over 7 plus 5 times 1. -4 times 1 is -4. 7 plus 5, 5 times 1 is 5, is 12. We can reduce that to -1 over 3. Or simplify that to -1 over 3. That's our final answer. So the second one was obviously a little bit more complicated. We had to do this reverse factoring part right here, where we took the y out. And then, once you have that fraction as your final answer on this part, substituting that 1 in or evaluating it is a little bit more complicated when you have the fractions. So just keep that in mind when you're doing those type of problems, that you can get a little bit more difficult one. The second part is only just solving for a variable. This should say for h at the end here. Must not have copied when I put it in here. So we're looking at this problem, this one. We want to get h by itself. So the first thing we'll do is we'll get rid of this 1/2. So to get rid of a half, you multiply both sides by 2. So we'll have 2a equals b1 plus b2 in parentheses times h. This is very similar to what we had up here, right there at that spot. We just divide by the stuff in parentheses. And whatever we do to the right side, we have to do to the left. And that's our answer. H is by itself. 2a over b1 plus b2. The advantage of doing it this way, of solving for h as opposed to having it solve for a, is that if we knew in a problem, if we were given a, b1, and b2, it'd be a lot easier to plug them into this equation than the original one. So that's one of the reasons for doing it. And mathematicians tend to have a lot of time on their hands, so they just like to move things around and see what happens. So that's the other reason for doing that. Here's the second one. We want to solve it for b. So again, we want to get rid of that 1/2, so we multiply them both by 2. So we'll have 2a equals b times h. We want to get b by itself. I gotta keep reminding myself which one I want alone. So I gotta get rid of the h if I want the b by itself. So I do that to both sides, and that's it. That is the example problems from section 1.4. Mostly just moving stuff around. Very similar to what we did in 1.3, solving for equations, but here we're leaving the letters in. That's the only difference. So that's it.